When I was a kid, there was quite literally one single person I ever knew that mentioned Code Lyoko, and he was my desk buddy in school. I won't lie, I wasn't too big of a fan of Maguzi at that time, though I loved the style and bumpers so much.
Guys, I'm trying to watch the show here. Maguzi's coming right back.
Most of my recollection of the series from my childhood was the theme song, which this pal of mine loved. Like, he'd hum it probably every day. Not that I was complaining. Like, hey, we all voted that it's fire. The third season of this show is very odd, pun intended, and a large reason why this season in particular is so odd is because of the clash in cultures between the French production and its American broadcasting and reception. For example, writing-director Sophie Decrozet reveals in this interview that Season 3 pulled back a lot of its romantic plots and development because the American audience favored action over romance. You may wonder just how relevant this would be to a show produced in France, as this interviewer Johan even pokes at whether this show is truly French or American, to which Decrozet says, hey, this show might be French, but we're making that American money. So we have 13 episodes to talk about today, which means the final Lyoko season will be a very long 30-episode video. The reason why the episodes are split so lopsidedly between seasons 3 and 4 is because when the show was renewed for its 2 final seasons, they were given a direct request to end the story. That means no cliffhangers, but a real ending for a change. Somewhere along the way, the crew decided to chop season 3 in half and use it as a transition season while they beefed up and created a bunch of new CGI outfits and environments and stuff for a big final season. And I guess that technically makes season 3 a filler season, but like, honestly, I truly believe no episode of Code Lyoko is technically filler, because when you really feel connected to these characters, every moment kinda matters. So yeah, this isn't clickbait, this really is the most odd season of Code Lyoko, so let's jump into the first episode of the season, episode 53, Straight to Heart. Now, the last time we visited Code Lyoko at the end of season 2, we learned Aelita didn't have a virus, but her memories were stolen by Xana, who essentially stole the keys to Lyoko through Aelita. Xana's now able to leave the supercomputer, but Aelita and Lyoko avoid destruction thanks in large part to Aelita's father, Franz Hopper. So Aelita's human once more, and now she and Xana aren't hard linked to the supercomputer. But what it is Xana can do now is a bit unclear. Like, the season ends with a swirling storm, like Xana could just say GG here, but something much more eerie happens. Xana hasn't attacked in 2 weeks, and it's time for the new school year. Honestly, that's terrifying. I've always thought that'd be a great concept for a horror movie, like someone or something essentially gaining the means to destroy you and just not doing it. Looking back though, I guess SpongeBob kinda did this.
And the next day, and the next day, and the next day.
Yumi tells Ulrich she has an important question for him, and like, oh my gosh, we are so back. After not watching Code Lyoko for a few months, I totally forgot no one can say 2 sentences in a row. They have to inform someone they have a question, dramatic music plays, and they say, I'll tell you later. Like, you ever get a text from your mom or dad like, we have to talk, and all day you think, oh my gosh, what could I have possibly done? What do they know? And then when you finally talk, they're like, hey, can you grab the mail on your way in? So it's the start of a new school year, and Odd's in a different class from the rest of the Lyoko warriors, along with Sissy, who just kisses him here, and everyone in this show has the most confusing reactions.
See you real soon, Odd.
Did you see that? Hey, why so sad?
You're not in the same class as we are.
Dang, that sucks. But did any of you just see Sissy kiss me for no reason and walk off? We're just gonna ignore that? Ulrich asks Yumi to ask her question once again.
Hang on. What was it you wanted to tell me?
I wanted to say that
Hey, Yumi. It's really great to see you again. Did you have a good vacation?
I'll tell you later, okay?
Also, why does William look so happy? It's creeping me out. That's better. Yumi's little brother Hiroki goes to the school now, and his friend Johnny has a crush on Yumi, which will play an interesting role in a future episode. Odd tries to convince the principal to get him in the same class as his other friends, but we learn Jim is partially responsible for breaking up the group, and part of me's like, dang Jim, I thought you were chill. But in reality, I can't blame him. Odd blackmails Jim to reverse his decision when he finds a DVD of Jim's career as a disco dancer in the movie Paco, the King of Disco, and I'll always admired just how upstanding these kids are. Like, they all tell Odd blackmail isn't cool, even though I kinda agree with Odd the ends justify the means here, especially when he's doing this in part because the fate of the world is on the line from a giant computer virus thing. Ulrich and Yumi have a talk where Yumi basically says the relationship and jealousy and everything is exhausting, with them just running in circles, and that Cartoon Network told them they should just be friends. Well, not exactly that last part, but you know what I mean. In Lyoko, it does also feel like the quality's taken another large step up, especially the textures being much sharper. Like, I noticed the Oni on Ulrich's back so much more now, and the Kiwi on Odd looks a lot cleaner too. In Lyoko, all the monsters are attacking this sphere that contains the heart of Lyoko, but everyone gets devirtualized except Aelita, who shows off her new powers, as she and this monster shoot each other at the same time. Although Aelita gets devirtualized, taking this last creature out, she's a proper human now and can just get regularly devirtualized like anyone else. It's a nice little touch that gets her involved in the action much more now, cause she can actually take a hit now. After taking care of things in Lyoko, the episode ends with Odd giving Jim the disco DVD back, and Jim saying he'll see what he can do to get the kids back together, touched by Odd's kindness and recognizing how much it means to him to be with his friends when he's alone at a boarding school. Cause you know, Jim's a bro. It's a great way to start off the season, and it really throws us into the melodrama of it all immediately, but we're just getting started. Episode 54, Code Lyoko -1, features a class election between Jeremy, Herb, and Odd, who's now reunited with all his friends in the same class. Jeremy and Odd have to leave the election since Yumi's getting attacked by a mob of Xana hypnotized students, along with Jim once again. William follows Ulrich when he hears about Yumi being in trouble, which is kind of the start of William's bigger role in the show, which is pretty funny since one of its first impressions is just watching Jim and the kids shoot lightning at Yumi on the ground. Aelita gets grabbed by one of the memory-stealing Schizozoas once again, who gets brainwashed to go ride on one of the tarantula monsters to go to the tower, where instead of typing in Lyoko, as she always does, often painstakingly slowly, she types in Xana, which destroys this entire sector as Jeremy devirtualizes Odd and Aelita frames before they fall into the digital sea forever.
Hey, Odd, take care of yourself. If anything happened to you, I wouldn't have any competition except for Herb.
The destruction of the tower removes the Xanification of all the other Cadix students, but in the grand scheme of things, the removal of this environment is pretty key for Xana's plan to remove access to Sector 5. From a production standpoint, the removal of this environment is so cool and one of my favorite parts of this season, because it was deliberately designed with no new creations to save all the new stuff for the big final season 4. So they actually take this a step further to show this upcoming contrast by not just remaining stagnant, but actually destroying Lyoko with these disappearing sectors. So yeah, it's just a really elegant way to keep the season frugal while having the story actually lean into this plot. There's other fun parallels, like the students observing the pollution and destruction of the forest as this forest sector is destroyed on Lyoko, or the true downfall of society, which is Odd getting elected class president, but hey, I would have voted for him too. He has good vibes. Episode 55 Tidal Wave features the school honoring Nutrition Day, and Xana, the little comedian it is, decides to send a giant sentient pile of food to try to kill Ulrich, Odd, and Jim. I really like the animation of this food garbage pile thing. It's animated at a much more choppy frame rate, like really nothing else in the show, really giving that unnatural Xana feel. Yumi excuses herself from class to help by saying William doesn't feel good and she needs to take him to the infirmary. I find this so funny, like she could have just said she felt sick, but instead she lied saying someone else felt sick and then just ditched him. Honestly, giving someone a get out of class free card, that's a true friend. Meanwhile in Lyoko, Xana continues to try to take out the other sectors by raising the digital sea, which as we know may permanently dematerialize anyone who touches it. So this liquid is really the only time if you die in the game you die for real at the moment, which is cool. Yumi almost falls into it, but Aelita shoots her with her orb power, which is like a 600 IQ play to simply devirtualize her, as opposed to watching her just get dematerialized forever. By the end, Aelita gets the data needed in Lyoko to lower the digital sea levels enough to stop Xana's little global warming mini-arc, destroying the forests and raising the sea level. You can maybe argue that eating healthy in this episode ties into the sentiment a bit, like maybe you could argue junk food's contribution to the environment, or maybe the rising digital sea is an allegory for Odd's blood pressure, since he says he eats steak and fries for dessert.
To the past now.
I'm so hungry!
In episode 56, False Lead, Odd has a Tamagotchi pet named Jean-Pierre, the same name as the principal, which goes missing somehow. These two secret government agents show up at school because Xana's framed Jeremy for terrorism and hacking this weapons manufacturer, and I really love this interaction.
And who are you?
We belong to an ultra-high security division of the Secret Service. The president himself has no idea that we exist.
Even we have no idea who we really are.
I don't really get why one of them inhaled a balloon before stepping into the studio, but it is pretty entertaining. These men in black suspect the kids are putting some kind of hit on the principal since they've been searching for the Tamagotchi, Jean-Pierre, this whole time, as well as the principal. But these agents end up getting Xanified and start ripping out all the cords of the lab as Ulrich, Jeremy, Jim, and even Principal Delmas do their best to hold them off from destroying the computer until Aelita can deactivate the tower. We learn the Tamagotchi was indeed missing as a prank from the other Lyoko friends, who gave Jean-Pierre to Hiroki, and honestly, this might be the saddest 10 seconds of television I've ever seen. Rest in peace, Jean-Pierre. September 30th, 2006 to like 20 minutes later. One of my favorite episodes of the season. Everyone was really involved in the action, both in Lyoko and back on Earth, and it has some of the funniest moments of the whole show for me. Episode 57, Aelita, starts with a flashback sequence of Aelita's traumatic past in Lyoko, where we learn Franz wasn't able to materialize himself, operating as this white sphere, and then the two of them got attacked by monsters and were separated. The first 5 minutes of this episode's dedicated to Odd's feet smelling, and as weird of a plot as that sounds, that could be a horror movie, slowly realizing everyone around you, your friends, your family, your dates, are all secretly dousing themselves in perfume and holding their noses around you and have just never told you about this. A savvy viewer like you may have already picked up on the fact that this season's very heavily focused on Odd so far. Sophie Decrozet does mention Odd being one of the most fun characters to write and how funny he is, so it makes sense he naturally takes the lead a little more in a season that focuses more on entertainment as the big finales and the worst. Apparently this season was dubbed Pick on Odd Week, in a similar vein to Pick on Yumi Week, where Xana just tried to kill her in particular every day. Like, Xana really hates Yumi. But yeah, so far we've got Odd being separated from his friends, being forced to eat vegetables or starve, having his Tamagotchi stolen and run over by a car, and here we learn he just has a terrible odor that no one's ever thought to tell him about. At lunch, Aelita asks if her father may still be alive, which Jeremy is certain can't be true, but being reunited with her memories, along with her trauma, Aelita storms off, believing he may still be out there. Aelita gets Odd to go with her to Lyoko so she can try to find more info for herself, which is one of the rare few times Xana didn't attack Earth and they still go to Lyoko. Xana then attacks the mountain sector, which was a cover-up for Xana's true intention of attacking the core of Lyoko once again. The warriors are able to destroy all the monsters and protect the core, but before they deactivate the tower, Jeremy asks Aelita if she wants to check for Franz once again. And they even find a fragment of his DNA here, which shows he may still be alive, which is a huge development. Like, Aelita's kinda gone off on her own a few times, but this one always felt kinda strange for Jeremy to be so confident they don't need to check again, given how thorough he normally is. I do think the fatigue Jeremy has of checking this data every single day and working through the nights should probably be taken into account at least a little, so I really don't blame him here though. The episode ends with Odd curing his foot odor by getting a cream that smells so much worse it totally distracts from his odor, and I really don't have anything funny to say about this. Like, it's just concerning, but I'm sure if I just tried to move on to the next episode, someone would comment saying, you forgot about the foot cream at the end, so I'd honestly love to know if anyone found this interested, as opposed to just omitting this very strange subplot. Episode 58, The Pretender, starts with Odd and Ulrich arguing about who has a higher monster count. Hiroki's friend Johnny confesses to Ulrich that he likes Yumi, so he tells him to go follow Yumi around, which they all know she hates. So he just annoys Yumi and asks her if she reads manga, but he says it in the classic 2000s way, like mango with an A at the end, which I always find so funny to go look back on.
Do you like comics? I like mangas best. What about you? I'll bet you know some great ones.
Xana's plot today is to send birds after the kids, but really they mainly care about Yumi, because as we all know, Xana really hates Yumi. Now, just after I watched this episode, a family of these giant ravens started nesting just outside my backyard, even leaving a little present at the pool, that being a chicken wing they were dipping in it. And I don't know if that counts as cannibalism or not, but I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty unsettled this day. Like, I watched an episode about these birds, and then they show up, not just leaving food, but showing up on the cameras, like flying into it. Like, I'm glad I didn't just watch this episode where Xana turned off gravity today. Who knows what would have happened. So Ulrich, Jeremy, and Aelita go to Lyoko to deactivate the tower and go back to the past, while keeping up their competition, and Ulrich just holds his sword up and drives through all the crabs. Like, yeah, he might be the GOAT. Ulrich apologizes to Yumi here in a very strange way, as they go back to the past, right when Johnny asks Ulrich for his advice again, but instead of telling him to go follow Yumi, he tells him to go up to her and say that Ulrich's a jerk, as we see Yumi actually smile and let Johnny study with her. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. Like, Yumi and Ulrich have made up and even entertained this kid's dream of being closer to Yumi, but at the same time it kind of feels like this would be an amazing villain origin story, to learn you're being manipulated by these time-traveling teens as a glorified carrier pigeon of an apology. Like, this planet only has like 5 people that live in the true timeline. Sometimes the other people in it are nothing more than pawns. It can be a little dehumanizing if they were to ever find out, but it also adds so much nuance to the character's emotions. Like, Yumi was mad at Ulrich for something that never happened in this timeline, and he still apologizes for it. Episode 59, The Secret, starts with Yumi bumping into William, and they hit it off talking about a bad, cheesy movie sequel. Yumi then tells William to close his eyes for a kiss and just runs off. In some ways, I see scenes like this and don't feel too invested, because we know the show's tried to avoid any major cases of episodes requiring major context to interfere with syndication and reruns, as well as the audience's negative reception towards romance episodes, but there's something about how these scenes are set that still makes me love them. Like, a character can just say hi, and they'll play like a soap opera dramatic sting. Like, I'm invested. I really loved a ton of shows that had actual progression and context as a kid. Like, a lot of anime come to mind, like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! But honestly, my favorite part of Pokemon was the beginning and end of each episode when they were just walking to a new town, or even getting a gym badge just gave me that neuron activation. I never really felt jaded by catching a random episode out of the blue, and I really wish more shows were more open to having actual progression back then. I think it's a lot easier to do nowadays with the rise in streaming services and being able to watch just about any episode whenever you want, assuming an entire channel doesn't just disappear from streaming services overnight. But yeah, I'm actually at the point with Code Lyoko where I accept very little will change episode to episode, but it works perfectly because yeah, they return to the past all the time. There's tons of significant events and battles that result in nothing, and that's really cool. While we're kind of on the topic of off-topic stuff I love in the show, there's a little sequence here I love where Jim cannonballs into the pool and then does this little twirl. It kind of made me realize why I love Jim so much. Like, he does something kind of bold and brash, like a cannonball, which is funny because he's such a bro, but then he follows it up with something elegant or that requires a lot of talent, like aquatic acrobatics. He has such range, and it's pretty similar to how he interacts with the kids, sometimes being a bro who helps them, and sometimes unknowingly hurting their plans for saving the world. Given how much Jim has done in the past, I'm almost starting to think maybe his life was way different even a year or two ago. Like, maybe he was a doctor or something and this is just his ultimate gym teacher arc. So back in the actual episode, William follows Odd and Ulrich into the sewers, where we learn that Yumi's just been casually hiding a supercomputer laboratory from him. And I thought William was gonna be really unlikable, especially with how he beefs with Ulrich, my home slice Ulrich. Ulrich. But he's actually pretty smooth here. Like, he actually goes and gets Yumi out of swim class by just straight up telling Jim there's a Xana attack, which obviously only Yumi will understand. William's style meshes a lot better with the group than I initially thought, being the kind of bad boy disrupting the group that seems to be just a little too complacent at times without him. He basically pushes the others to actually just take action, like telling Ulrich, hey, if you don't ask Yumi out, I will. Xana's scheme of the week is taking control over a construction worker with a bunch of explosives, as Yumi goes to save Aelita from a Schizozoa attack, so the episode follows the guys on Earth fighting alongside William as they find a bomb William says he can defuse thanks to some complicated story with his uncle they don't have time to tell right now. Ulrich and Odd have the opportunity to escape here, but they actually stay, saying, nah, we're brothers at this point. If we die together. Despite William risking his life and saving the day, they take a vote on whether to keep him on the team or not, but unfortunately the vote isn't unanimous, which we're led to believe was Ulrich's doing, but it's actually revealed that Yumi was the one who said she couldn't trust him yet.
Too bad, William. There's one no.
You're the big losers. I was kind of expecting this might happen. Some guys just can't handle being jealous.
Overall, it's a really cool episode and really sets up the rest of the season really well, as I finally feel like I'm warming up to William. So let's move on to episode 60, Temporary Insanity. In this episode, Ulrich and Odd get shot while in Lyoko, and despite getting to virtualize, they still believe they're on Lyoko, interfering with their school lives. Without any context, this clip is the funniest in the entire series.
Out of the way, Aelita! I can't see the crab!
This time you've gone too far. One more word out of you, and it's the disciplinary committee, you hear?
Wait, I have a broken hard disk or what? The crab sounds a lot like Delmas.
Odd, watch out! A block at 4 o'clock!
A block? You're the blockhead, Stern.
The gals have to break into the hospital to get the boys out, since their nurse is a 10th Dan in Aikido, but Yumi ends up going to the wrong room, where we actually get the craziest moment in the show. I know I just said that a few seconds ago, but trust me, this one's crazier.
Thank you for showing me the way.
Game of tiddlywinks? Whoever wins gets to take the other person's medicine. Well, what do you say?
Huh?
Dang, Grandma. I want to party with her. On top of everything going on, Xana's attacking the core of Lyoko once again, so when they finally get there, we get another funny twist. That being Odd and Ulrich hallucinating they're back at the academy, and that they've already deactivated the tower. The core of Lyoko's shields got destroyed, and Aelita makes an amazing play to stop this single laser that would have destroyed all of Lyoko along with them, which is pretty insane. Like, what Aelita did here was the equivalent of just catching a bomb that would have destroyed them all. She truly did not get enough credit for this. The episode ends with the kids redoing their school play, this time without laser arrows, which gets a much colder reception from the director, actually suggesting that they're missing a bit of insanity. In episode 61, Sabotage, today is dorm inspections, but Jeremy's dorm is a mess since he's always so busy with Lyoko. On top of this, he's found out that Xana sent the groundkeeper to sabotage the supercomputer, which will destroy everything in 3 hours. Xana controls tree roots this time around, which is pretty random. I guess it damn near kills Yumi, but what else is new? I'm sorry, but I've watched this episode like 3 times, and I still struggle to summarize what's really happening beyond running left and then running right. It's genuinely a fun episode to watch for yourself, but there isn't too much for me to talk about. The coolest thing to happen here is the ice sector getting destroyed following the disappearance of Lyoko, which we can appreciate more after reading about this, being a very deliberate part of this season. This also leads to a cool scene where Ulrich, Odd, and Aelita have to all shoot each other at the same time so they can all devirtualize before they disappear along with the sector. So let's move on to episode 62, Nobody in Particular. We see Jeremy test a new method to transport the others to Sector 5 directly, and through the process of drawing straws, Ulrich is selected to test this first, and just disappears. I really love the following scene of how the others react to the aftermath of their friend disappearing, basically believing he could possibly be dead, and there's something about everyone's anger and drama that just feels so real. It kinda makes me appreciate just how much is at stake if they were to ever mess up in these situations. Also, it's kinda funny, not not only is this season saving assets by having these sectors disappear, but now we're getting rid of characters too. Bjorn Ulrich hasn't disappeared, he's just invisible to the rest of the Lyoko crew, except Kiwi, who he can now take over.
Here, lower. Surprise!
That's fantastic! All my training methods have finally paid off. Kiwi's talking!
No, it's me talking. Ulrich from inside Kiwi's body.
But what are you doing inside my dog? That's crazy!
That's also a really good Lyoko out of context clip. Honestly, if you guys find any other good Lyoko out of context clips that you have saved, can you like tweet them at me or something, please? Ulrich also takes over the body of Jim so he can convince Mrs. Hertz to spare Ulrich in the upcoming academic review, which makes this a pretty funny Freaky Friday kind of episode, with Ulrich as Jim and class president Odd trying to defend the crew while the gals kick butt in Sector 5. I actually do really appreciate that Odd's here as the class president. Like, this little detail from earlier in the season actually did make a difference, even as small as this. After this meeting, Ulrich and Odd go to Lyoko, and as much as a lot of us would have loved to have seen Jim on Lyoko, Ulrich has to depart here, but it is pretty funny.
Hope he doesn't flip out on us.
I bet this will be something he'd rather not talk about.
So they go to Lyoko and defeat the Xanified version of Ulrich, who even uses triplicate here. So I guess technically we had 4 Ulrichs this episode. Like, this season might be pretty odd and experimental, but it's definitely not skimping out on the action. Overall, it's a fun episode. The part with Yumi crying and being mad at Jeremy for the situation really stands out as one of my favorite moments of the season. Because you might not even think that this is Jeremy's fault, but there's just something so real about this anger getting placed on him here.
In spite of all my research, I haven't managed to localize him. I'll still keep searching from my room computer. He's gotta be somewhere.
Go on, you can keep trying. But the truth is, you messed up big time and Ulrich might be lost forever.
In episode 63, Triple Trouble, Odd feels inferior to the others because apparently his future flashes got patched out in one of Jeremy's system updates, and Jeremy didn't think it was good enough to code back in, which makes no sense to me. You don't think Odd would be stronger if he could just see the future? That's so odd. Jeremy decides to give Odd the power of teleportation, which doesn't end up working properly, so Odd now has 3 of him running around, and of any character for this to happen to, it's way funnier with Odd. Like, seeing him try to butter up Rosa for extra food in the cafeteria, not once, not twice, but 3 times, is really funny to watch. Like, the third Odd doesn't even get to have lunch. Like, he might get extra helpings, but thirds is a bit much. The 3 Odds have to all get to the factory to fuse back together, which is made a lot more complicated by Xana's plan of the day, which is forming some kind of chemical smoke from the science room that just solidifies the others.
Behind you, Jim. There's something weird right behind you, look!
Listen up, Herb. I was not born yesterday. What are you trying to pull?
That is what I call having a hard day.
You're laughing. Your gym teacher just got turned into a horrifying cement block, and you're laughing. 2 of the Odds go out to locate and return the third solidified Odd, showing 2 heads is better than 1, but 3's a crowd, or something. Odd, back in one piece, now gets to Lyoko and puts in work so Aelita can go deactivate the tower, where they return to the past. Odd's now content with just being himself. Like, he might not have a lot of powers, but he's got laser arrows and cat-like reflexes, and hype moments, and aura. The last piece of trivia here is that the English name of this episode was originally 3 is an odd number, which is way funnier. It kind of makes me think, if Odd got possessed in Lyoko here, it would have been really cool to see Ulrich's triplicate versus the 3 Odds. But it's still a fun episode, like, you can never have enough Odd. Episode 64, on the other hand, is called Double Trouble, taking it down a notch from last time, where we really focus on the Lyoko crew worried about failing their classes and getting expelled on top of the Xana attacks. No one but Jeremy can skip class here, and it kind of feels like they're trying to shape the episode like Jeremy needs to live a little more outside of the classroom. But he's the only one willing to skip class here, so I don't know. The crew considers getting William to join the team once again, since they need as much help as they can get it, with the increased difficulties of balancing school and Lyoko, William tells Yumi about how he keeps having dreams of her and the events of the other day where they fought against Xana, which he still doesn't know was real. And then Xana makes an evil clone of Jeremy once again, which has generally been one of the most effective strategies in the series so far. Also giving us one of the few times Xana somewhat directly communicates with the other Lyoko warriors. I think one of the coolest things about Xana is how cold and mechanical it is. Like, it's not a direct person to fight with a clear set of motives, but some kind of mysterious virus that takes over the technology while somehow also avoiding the eye-rolling pitfall of turning every moral into phone bad. Like, God, I hate that short. But every now and then, it's nice to see Xana a little more directly, like we see here. Xana's also able to take over Aelita, who enters the mountain sector, typing in code Xana to destroy it, as Aelita and Yumi get rematerialized just before hitting the virtual sea. So with all these sectors being erased, Xana's really has the upper hand to attack the core of Lyoko, but Jeremy has one last trick up his sleeve, booting into Sector 5 directly, but they'll really need backup. Like, they knew today's situation was an emergency, and this is what Ulrich says.
Ulrich, we have to go. It looks like there's an emergency. Sorry, emergency or not, I'm not moving. I need the grade, and this time I'm off to a decent start. Okay.
So Yumi asks William to formally join the Lyoko team, revealing his dream wasn't a dream, giving us our 6th member of the crew. Sorta. So here we have the final episode of Season 3, Episode 65, Final Round. They put William in the Lyoko for the first time, thus officially making him immune to the returns to the past, though he did vaguely remember some of the past events despite returning to the past. William did kind of say he'd remember everything out of pure anger and spite before, which is pretty funny. Like, I gotta respect the hustle, though this might also hint that William kind of shares some kind of fate with the others, even before being an official part of the team. Odd has a skateboarding competition today where we also learn that Jim was a former roller derby champion in the 70s, but for once, it's not that he'd rather not talk about it, it's just that he doesn't have time to talk about it. We also see Sam is here, the gal that Odd snuck into the school and tried to steal the computers, though I guess that didn't happen in this timeline because he told her not to do it after they returned to the past. Like a lot of middle school girlfriends, she goes to a different school, but she's actually just here for the day for the competition. On top of this, Ulrich's dad is also here to confront his son about his awful grades, and we know how tense this can be. Like, last time we saw Ulrich's dad, he risked Xana going through with turning off graffiti just so he could impress his dad with his soccer skills. So Ulrich tells Sam to relay a message to Ulrich, which she doesn't do because she traveled all the way here and actually wants to spend time with Odd. It's a bad look, but in her defense, she didn't know the fate of the world depended on passing on this message, so I can't be too mad at her. This episode's just like disaster after disaster, with all the most unfortunate things happening. Like, Ulrich has to deal with his dad, Odd has to deal with Sam, Jeremy has to deal with the yearbook girls, and Aelita has to deal with William.
It's a pretty classy gear. And you? No weapon? You fight with your bare hands? What's your superpower?
You know, he actually looks pretty good in 3D. They have a nice lighting on him, and most importantly, they gave him one of the coolest weapons of all time, an oversized Buster Sword. Also, wow, we really got William and Lyoko before Jeremy. He's a bit overconfident and overzealous, and really didn't get a great rundown of everything that can go wrong in Lyoko, let alone Sector 5, taking out a few creepers before getting taken over by a Civizoa, and fighting against Aelita, who already kinda wanted to smack him. Like, you know you really have to screw up to make her mad. In some ways, I'm a little disappointed William has basically become a soldier of Xana almost immediately. Like, I would have loved to have seen how a typical day in Lyoko would have been disrupted by William's more edgy style. Despite having a Buster Sword, the Xanified William, Zillium, uses it like a gun, which I guess is kinda badass. Like, at the end of a day, a Buster Sword's a Buster Sword. I'll defend whatever it does. So William directly attacks the core of Lyoko, which they desperately try to defend all season. As we see, he now officially joins the dark side. All hope seems to be lost that William and Franz Hopper can't be brought back and they have no way to access Lyoko anymore, leaving Xana to do whatever it wants now, but we end the season with one last beacon of hope, an encrypted message sent to Jeremy directly from Franz Hopper. While this is yet another cliffhanger ending of a season, I honestly honestly love how this season wrapped up so much. The systematic destruction of Lyoko's sectors really just emphasized the despair creeping in each episode. Even if the episodes had a little bit of goofier plots, the stakes were just as high as ever, and arguably the best part of this whole season is that its primary purpose was to keep fans satisfied while they launched a huge final season. With all the new stuff they've been working on, finally having the real-world technology catch up to the staff's ambition. Thanks for watching, and a big thanks to my Patreon and Ko-fi supporters. I'll talk to you next week. Alright, bye.